Here you can see we have a Dimetrodon swimming, and this Dimetrodon is swimming in the deep water, which makes me wonder if this is a glitch or is this a feature. This is right after I loaded up my game, so perhaps the Dimetrodon glitched into the deep water, but I would like to see the Dimetrodon swimming more in the deep water, but I'm not too sure yet if it's a feature or not. Well, hello and welcome back to the Jurassic Experience. This is my starter island and, well, starter series, and this is episode 3. We are going to be continuing where we left off, developing our park around this island, and hopefully we can get all the way around it in a way that is pleasing. In episode 1 and 2, we had the double episode feature last week. I hope you enjoyed it. And here you can see people are actually using the table and chairs. That's great. So we have people wandering the park. Our dinosaurs here are happy. They are happy because I have told them to be happy. And then down here we have these swamp-loving dinosaurs. But episode 2 was quite a nice episode. I'd say it turned out quite well considering it was my first attempt at making dinosaur enclosures in Jurassic World Evolution 3. Today we are going to be working on this area here. And we'll see what we do with it. Of course I have to follow the terrain because, as I said in episode 1, when you do island generators, you have to follow the terrain quite precisely. It's kind of limiting, but I do like a challenge. I did not hit the film button when I sort of created this outline of the enclosure. I do apologize, but you didn't miss much. I'm going to expand this this hilltop here and make it flat. I guess I should say I'm going to flatten it. And we are going to use it, the natural terrain, as an observation post. So that's the plan here. So far I find it, I'm not entirely sure if it's me or if it's something else, but I notice that when it is pre-generated terrain, there can be trees growing up the side of a hill like this. But when I try to do it, trees do not grow on the side of the mountain. I don't know if I am just doing something wrong, or is there something I could do in that situation? Now here I'm just trying to get this path lined up. Thankfully we have this editor tool, which is handy dandy. But of course, Jurassic World Evolution 2, there had to be a little bit of, as we say, faffing around. And that's what you have to do in Jurassic World Evolution 3. There's a, what would you call it? A series. There's rather a set of steps that you must follow when you're doing things. And when I forget the steps, well, then I just have to redo it. So here we are. Just gonna make the path one color here. So I'm using these Malta viewing platforms here. I think they look real good. That looks great. I love how the path is bending here. And of course we're going to try and decorate it a little bit. Here we have these lovely seats. One thing I did love from Jurassic World Evolution 2, which I don't know if it's in Jurassic World Evolution 3, but I haven't seen it yet, is all the plant pots. I really did like all the plant pot variety, but I don't quite see it in Jurassic World Evolution 3. We'll put in some flowers here. Some lovely flowers. Fluffy clouds. That's looking good. I love the big bushes. Big bushes. Great. Getting all these beautiful flowers. Now we are going to have a meat eater in this enclosure, so we're putting in its dinner. Now everything needs water, but an amount of things needs wetland. It's interesting, really. I think generally is it twice as much wetland. If something doesn't need much wetland, this particular species needs 10% water, I think 19% wetland. That seems to be pretty common for a lot of species. Some species love wetland, but I'm still learning. As I said in my Jurassic World Evolution 2 videos, I do try to give the dinosaurs what they want, even if they don't eat. You know, I made it so that they don't have needs, but I do try to give them what they naturally would want according to their, what would be the word, their specifications, their desires. Here you can see what we have here. I think I may have used it in previous park, but I forget. It looks kind of new to me.
A classic example of an apex predator, the Giganotosaurus. This is one of the largest terrestrial
Giganotosaurus. I noticed that
named it well.
The explanation when the dinosaur is delivered is quite short in this game. In Jurassic World Evolution 2, it seemed like they could talk for about half a minute, but currently it's like 10 seconds. It's a pretty cool dino. So as we do, we are going to try to blend some plants together. What are you doing over there, bud? What are you looking at, bud? Are you looking at that big, beautiful blue ocean? You want to jump in? Go for a swim. Here we got some flowers. I don't know if I like the flowers here, so we're going to sort of mix it up a bit. We can leave a few flowers. That's one great thing, is you can actually mix things together quite well, where some of the previous thing is retained. It really does help. And there's their goat. Now they don't eat because I've turned off, well, hunger. I've turned off eating, but I do like to have that in there in case I feel like turning it on, which I probably won't for this series, because this starting series is really just to test the waters. I'll probably be doing more of the big square maps. I don't really like doing the pre-made maps too much, but of course if I get bored, or if I do too much square maps, maybe I'll try one as a change, like, you know, the England or the Germany, or what have you. I do apologize if you hear a dog barking. I did move recently into a new apartment, and there's a dog somewhere in the apartment building that just barks constantly. It's kind of annoying, but obviously the dog can't help it. It has a miserable life, I think. Here we're just changing this. Looks great. Get our viewing gallery down for our second species here.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I move around a lot, so if this is your first video with me, I've moved 5 times in 9 years, so I probably won't be staying here very long either. You know, I move from place to place pretty often. So nothing is permanent, although I'd like to settle down, I really would. Imagine if I was actually working on a ship right now and you didn't know, and I was like, yeah, I move around a lot. And I'm just like sailing the 7 seas. No, I'm not, but that would be pretty funny. And I'm playing Jurassic World Evolution 3 in my bunk. Maybe I'm actually like, maybe I'm a high rank on the ship, so I have my own room, and I have my own TV, and my own PlayStation, and I just, when I'm not on shift, I'm playing Jurassic World Evolution, editing, uploading, and yeah, I just have great internet on that boat. Maybe it's a cruise ship. That would be cool. I don't think there are dogs allowed on cruise ships, are there? Maybe service dogs. Yeah, that'd be funny. What an interesting life I would have. I don't think I'd be complaining much about a dog barking then, because my life is just people. 4,000 new people every couple weeks, you know. And then of course all my co-workers who are like the catering staff and the engineering staff and the piloting staff, you know. That would be crazy. But no, I'm just fantasizing. I guess I've been watching a little bit too much of that Ships at Sea game that Astragon released. The beta for, is it the beta? Or what have you. I don't know if they released the beta or what have you, but yeah, I guess I've just been watching too much of that. I'm like, oh man, I want to play that, but not on console. Anyway, why am I talking about that? Doesn't matter. Here we're just blending in, as you saw, some shallow water, some marshes, some, well, grass, because we need some open grassland, and we need some ground nut, is it? Ground fruit? Ground leaf? Something like that. I think those two things. And it's for the Ankylosaurus, of course. This is my favorite dinosaur in the whole world. So of course I have to have them in the park.
With its thick skull and clubbed tail, the Ankylosaurus can be both a handful and also one of the premier species in this facility. Which one we get?
Facility? This isn't a facility. This is an experience. This is a Jurassic experience. We don't talk about that. Did I say it previously in Jurassic World Evolution 2? I might have said it, that I went to Japan and I went to a museum and they had the Zool fossil on display at this museum. The Zool fossil came from Canada and it was on display in Japan when I was there, just by coincidence, really. I didn't know it would be there. But I did get to see it right up close, basically touching distance. But of course I like to just touch with the eyes. I like touching with my eyes. But it was super cool because you got to see all the muscle fibers in its tail. You got to see the interesting head, which was pretty big. It wasn't the biggest head I've ever seen. Or was it? Well, maybe. It wasn't the biggest skull that I've ever seen, if you include skulls as heads. But its body was all weird, like flattened out. I don't know why. But its skin was, well, preserved, I guess. It had skin, which was really neat. But yeah, I mean, that's the sort of experience you remember for the rest of your life. Here we have a viewing gallery. I decided we'll do one more dinosaur enclosure because we have time. And this one, we need, of course, some water and marsh. Marsh is a new step in my building now. I have to include marshes, or wetland, I guess. One thing to consider, of course, for me is getting the amount right. You know, I want to get the amount of marsh I need correct, and I want to get the size of the enclosure correct, because in Jurassic World Evolution 2, you didn't really need it to be too big. But now it really feels like the amount of marsh you need, or wetland, the amount of water, it really all sort of, well, I would say comes together in a way that really makes an enclosure feel a little bit too small. My favorite is the bog. That's my favorite of the tools. The swamp I don't really like because it has a lot of plants, a lot of those mangroves, which are nice, but I find that it really wants to give me a lot of mangroves. So here I'm working on this new method that I've been thinking about, is that I figure out where the water spawns in the marsh, and then I go over the area where water does not spawn with the grassland, the pasture land. And so then they get the pasture and the wetland rating together. And it sort of saves space, I guess. Let's see, we don't want to go there. That's for next episode. There we go. So we need some cover. They call it cover. Not forest anymore. But look how thick that is. And it's quite thick even right up to the fence. In Jurassic World Evolution 2, it usually wanted to be quite thin near the fence, which I noticed. And here we have tall nut. Gonna want some of that tall nut. So you can imagine maybe we're doing something that has a ground nut. Maybe we're having a ground nut dinosaur. Why are we jumping to conclusions here that we're going to have something that eats tall nut? I guess because I said tall nut first, but we shouldn't be jumping to conclusions. We'll see what we can do here. Get a bit of flowers in. Beautiful flowers. The flower brush might be my new favorite. Here I'm just going to try something for artistic purposes. It's sort of getting a nice blend on this. here. You see, we can get a pretty nice effect here. I think that looks alright. I don't need it, I just think it's good to practice. Well, we are having something that eats a tall nut, so yes. But we shouldn't assume.
Now, much like me, the Brachiosaurus has a huge heart. Of course, this dinosaur needs it just to get blood to the very tip of its head and tail. Whereas, I'm just that nice a guy.
The
Did I hear someone
Brachiosaurus,
snicker back there?
nice lovely big old dinosaur, one of my favorites. A classic, really. That's a nice view. And I have another Brachiosaurus here, a female, who is green. But really lovely. The effects. I'd say the game is really quite gorgeous. So, that pretty much does it for this episode. I am trying to keep the episodes short-ish. 20 minutes is a pretty good length, 20 to 30. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We got a lot done today in a short amount of time, I would say. Next episode, we're going to continue around the island for episode 4. I'm currently at 25% complexity limit. You can see there in the top right-hand corner. So that means I've used up a quarter of my complexity quota. I would say that we're probably a third of the way around the island. So it's pretty good. But you can see that our buildings are quite sparse. So makes me wonder about the complexity here. I'm feeling like definitely it's not as much as Jurassic World Evolution 2, but we'll see when we finish. But thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.